Nibs here, and just a foretaste of what we're going to cover in the video, and that's the I'll count them now, 6 Chinese overlay fountain pens that I've acquired in the last 18 months or so. And that starts with the V169 from Asvine, 2 overlays, 100 model from Jinhao, the Hongdian D1, the Asvine P80, which doesn't quite fit in the box, and the Hongdian A6, which is the most recent one. So these were in order of my acquisition. So if I can get my hand out of my face, which probably is okay with you having. Okay, so I'm going to show these overlay pens in the order in which I acquired them. So the first was the Asvine V169. Gorgeous, gorgeous pen. Has a what they called a raindrop pattern, and this is a vac filler, hence the V169. Still have a little ink in here, so I'm not going to demonstrate the vac filler, but I've done that in previous videos. And this is a pen that will post, but you would never post it. It's much, much too long. Can turn the vac fill knob by accident by turning the cap if you post it. And it's plenty long enough without posting, and I'm not going to get my whole hand in this particular view. This one came with an M nib, but it's currently available in extra fine, fine, and medium. This is what they call the coffee coloration of acrylic with the gold overlay. I'm a sucker for gold, whether real or ersatz. So a lot of my pens you'll see with gold trim in one form or another. And I'm not going to go over all the colors because this has been out the longest. There are now, at the last time I counted, 10 different color combinations. So if you follow the link below in the video description, when you follow the link to this pen, you'll see all the colors offered. So that is the V169 from Asvine. The next pen I got was actually 2 pens. Let's put this in the display box for the moment. And that's the Jinhao 100 series, of which there are now thousands of color combinations. But these are the 2 overlays offered. And I got both of these in clear acrylic to make them demonstrators. But these again, let's see, Jinhao 100, they're now calling this just the skeleton and this the oval skeleton. They used to have different names that escape me at the moment, but they're both the 100 model. And currently we've got transparent demo with gold trim in both versions, as you can see that I have here. There's a red gold and a black gold in both of these overlay patterns. And then as far as I can see currently, this pattern will also be available or is available with a blue and gold overlay or a green with gold overlay. So you have lots of choices. These hundreds, sometimes called 100 Centennial, but I didn't see that mentioned in the current listing for these overlays. Really comfortable pens, metal sections, but not slippery at all. So I've really enjoyed using these. Number 6 size nib. And the kind of older conventional standard Jinhao two-tone nib with their Chariot logo there. I should have mentioned that the Asvine is also a number 6 size nib. It's the M marking because that's the one I have. And the V169, the Asvine, is probably the heaviest of all these. It is the heaviest, but still comfortable to use. So these are the two Jinhao versions that I acquired next. And let's see, here we have an entree from Hongdian. In my review of this pen, I've reviewed all of these in previous videos, except maybe the last. I haven't reviewed the last. Okay. I stand corrected, even though I'm sitting down. I referred to this as the Batman overlay, which I'm sure was not intentional on their part, but you can see here what looks like, somewhat like the Batman logo, depending on what decade of Batman that you're looking at. It's a little clearer here. This is again, a demonstrator version, silver overlay. And this is the Hongdian D1. Now, I've had problems with this pen. And again, if you look at the video on this pen in my channel's history, you'll see why. Had a lot of problems with it originally. The piston not operating properly and trying to repair that, being in contact with Britnam Lee at Asvine, who was the one who sent me this Hongdian. All sorts of trouble trying to get it properly situated. We finally did, and this is a piston fill and works fine now. But it didn't work fine for quite a while until some pieces were replaced. And that was my first experience with any problems with a Hongdian, or an Asvine for that matter. I haven't had any problems with Asvine. So this functions perfectly now. Also a metal section, but personally I find this too slippery for me. And there are no incised bands, as there are with the last pen I will show you, that provides some purchase. The shape of the section, which flares out towards the nib, provides some security, but this pen and I have not really seen eye to eye, and that's the main reason these days, once it's become fully functional, is the, to me, slipperiness of the section. And this comes in extra fine or fine only, as far as I know at this point. So you're a little bit more limited with the nib sizes. Again, to review, the Asvine V169 is available in extra fine, fine, or medium, as are the two Jinhao 100s. But this is limited to extra fine and fine. Also comes in a jet black, which is very, very neat looking, and I considered getting that, and may still, because of my Batman overlay, which no one else probably can even see. And let me remove that cap so it's a little bit more in focus. So you have the bird of peace, which Hongdian uses quite frequently. Lantian, Hongdian, and they also use the word fortune and D1 for the model number. There's also all black and a silver with blue acrylic. So that's another real looker. Next one is another Asvine. This is the second overlay that they did, but this is the P80, and P indicating piston. So this was a more intentional design, I think you can see, of a spider. But subtly done. If you're not really paying attention or looking for it, it blends in very, very well with the overall pen. It's not staring in your face. So there's one here on the cap, and the slightly larger one on the barrel. And this is the red and gold. Just appearance-wise, blew my socks off. And I haven't found those socks since. I don't know where they went. And again, I mentioned that I am partial to gold trim on my pens. And this now comes in a whole bunch of colors as well. So this is the red gold. There's a blue acrylic with silver overlay. A gray blue acrylic with silver overlay. A fully transparent demonstrator with silver overlay. And a transparent, or more of a translucent gray with a silver overlay. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 currently. And this is available with a larger selection of nibs, in the sense that you have the standard Asvine nibs with extra fine, fine, or medium. And I've been very pleased with the Asvine nibs. So some people like to switch out nibs. I've felt no need with the writing. But also offered are Bach nibs in fine or broad. At least currently, those are the two sizes available. And that adds about $10 to the pen. I guess I should have given you an idea of the cost of these pens going along. So this is approximately $35 with the Asvine nib. So if you add a Bach nib as an alternative, it adds about $10, so bringing up to about $45. So moving backwards now, the Hongdian D1 Batman is approximately $25. everybody, especially on Amazon, has $24.95 or $24.99. They don't want to push up to that next price point. Marketing 101. Then the Jinhao 100s. This skeleton version is approximately $23. And this one is a couple bucks more. The oval skeleton at about $25. And although I've mentioned it in previous videos on Jinhao, this was my first experience, these two overlays with their, at that time, new gold-covered converter, which I really, really like. It just looks classier. It's very easy to operate and use. And they've since made another change in their converters, but I really appreciate these gold ones. So that's those, and with prices. And the Asvine V169 raindrop overlay it seems to vary a bit, which I couldn't quite determine why from some of the colors. Approximately between $27 and $38. So again, you have 10 different color combination options, and let you do your own research on pricing as well as the costs. You're wondering what I'm doing. This is a little bit too long to fit in the display box that I'm going to show you at the end for size comparison. So it is longer. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is longer than the V169. And again, this is the P80. You'll see that momentarily. And then finally, the newest overlay I've gotten was another Hongdian. And this is the A6. And I'm much happier with this than I was with the Hongdian D1 that gave me so many problems. Again, a piston filler, and I have ink in there, so I'm not going to demonstrate that. Has a very nice spring clip, rocker clip. Very easy to use. And I was using this for a while before I noticed that it's an arrow clip. Not sure why they did that, but it's subtle enough. It doesn't make you think of Parker, that's for sure. And there's nowhere on here does it show the model number until you look at the cap top, which again is very lovely. The bird of peace. And right at the top you see A6. And that's the only place on the pen that I have found the actual model number. And this is a acrylic domed cap. It looks really, really sharp. I like this very much. And the overlay, nothing really jumps out at me as far as, a raindrop or a spider or ersatz Batman symbol. So I'll let you decide when you get one of these what it represents. But the improvement to me that Hongdian made with this A6 as opposed to the D1 was these incised rings on the ribbing section. And the slippery experience I had with the D1 is totally gone with this. So this is a very comfortable pen for me to use. And in fact, it's been in my shirt pocket for about a week and a half. One of the 2 or 3 pens I always keep in there for use. Lovely, lovely nib. Has the Chinese knot around the breather hole. And then, oh, I can't really see through the camera. I'm sure it says Hongdian, F nib, and probably 35 for the size of the nib, which is equivalent to a number 6 here in the West. You can post it, post very securely, and it's actually quite well balanced, posted or unposted, and perfectly long enough unposted to use, which is my preference with pretty much all pens, except pocket pens. And this retails about $30 on Amazon. It's just a real improvement to me over the D1. You may feel differently. I'll allow that once. So this has an F nib, but they call it an F soft. And it really does have a softness to it, a springiness. It's not a nail in any regard. And it comes like the D1, limited at this point to an extra fine or a fine. And there are 3 versions of it. This is the bright gold. There's a jet black and a silver blue. So the same 3 color options as the Hongdian D1. All very attractive, and as time goes by, I may add those other color variations, because these are actually, all these overlays are really stunning looking pens. And let me see if I can slide this in view. This is not the best camera angle to see them side by side. So I may do another scene. The P80 is just a little too long to fit into this display box. But there's a lot of bling here. And I think I shall change the scene, do a little bit of writing for those pens that have ink in them. This one that I've been carrying in my pocket definitely has ink, and it's a special ink. It's my first, if I pronounce this correctly, because it's my first Waringol ink. And it's the Mary Shelley Frankenstein. Glistening fountain pen ink. And the reason I got this was not really the color, because purplish inks are not my first choice among ink colors, but rather that it's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And as I think I've mentioned in past videos, probably ad nauseum, I'm distantly related to Boris Karloff, who played Frankenstein's monster in those great films of the 30s. Boris was from jolly old England, and his real name Well, Boris Karloff became his real name. I'm sure he changed it legally. But his real name was William Pratt. And my maternal grandmother was the Pratt family, from the Pratt family. So that's a mild claim to fame and why I proceeded with this particular ink. And I'm enjoying it, even though it's not my first color choice. Made in Korea, I didn't realize that. Again, this is my first Waringel ink. And the other reason I kind of feel kinship with Boris is, who was also the original mummy, by the way, in the 30s, and many other tremendous movies that he did. Because the people often mistake me, that which would be a bigger mistake for I guess I'm not able to speak at this point. Mistake me for Frankenstein's monster because of the similarity of appearance. Okay? Phew! Finally got it out. All right. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, here we have the 6 Chinese overlay pens boxed together. And just for a review, we have the Asvine 169, 2 Hero 100 overlays, the Hongdian D2, the Asvine P80, which doesn't quite fit, and the Hongdian A6. Let me see if I can lift this up without the P80 falling out. So I know all this bling hurts the eyes after a while, but very neat looking pens. And do I want to write holding the camera in one hand? Probably not, because it makes my handwriting look even worse than it actually is. But we'll do a sentence or two. Let me get out the one I'm currently using because I know that has ink in it. So this is the Hongdian A6 with a fine, soft nib, and it definitely is bouncier and softer than a lot of Chinese nibs. They're all major Chinese brands are continuing to improve with their nibs, and I have no complaints. 3 mentioned today: Asvine, Hongdian, and Jinhao. Let's see, the Asvine P80 Spider, I know I have some ink in, I believe I do. Yeah. So this must be a medium nib. And this is the P80 Spider overlay. I mean, this has a soft nib, but this has a soft nib too, the Asvine. Little bit of line variation there. And next to the Hongdian, which is a fine, not a medium. Let's see. not quite as much line variation, at least in the fine. And finally, the only other pen which might have some ink at the moment would be the V169, and there might not be any in the 4-chamber because this is a vac filler, which you sometimes, well, it has a little bit of ink, barely any. Probably know with vac fillers that you can undo the knob at the back, pull back on the rod, and that releases more ink into the section. And I haven't used this pen in a couple of weeks, I don't think, so that's why there is some ink in the barrel, but not much, if any, in the section. And this is a medium. Let's see if I can write anything before it totally dries out. I can't get, when I apply some pressure, it's really starved for ink. Let me see if I can do this one-handed without making a complete mess, as opposed to a partial mess. I'm pulling back, allowing ink to flow into the section, because when you press down fully on the vac knob and tighten it down, it's creating a seal between the ink reservoir in the barrel and whatever ink is in the section and feed. So it's great for airline travel, but sometimes you have to crack it open. And yeah, so there was a little bit more ink in the barrel. And that is a fair amount of line variation. But none of these pens are designed, none of these nibs rather, are designed for flexibility or being flex. So I think we'll end it here, and hope you enjoyed a little look-see at the recent Chinese overlay pens that I've acquired about the last year and a half. This being the eldest of the group, and this being the newest of the group. If you enjoyed any part of this video, perhaps you enjoy most that it's coming to an end, please consider liking it, sharing it, hitting the bell icon, passing it along, or another word for sharing, I guess, to everyone that you know, whether they like fountain pens or not. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.